along with it, and I didn't do that.
Well, speaking of movies that don't make a lot of sense a lot of times,
Good segue.
let's talk about. Why don't you pronounce this, actually, Mr.
L'Âge d'Or,
L'Âge d'Or.
or
Large Door.
Large Door, or The Golden Age, which is a rough English translation.
Mhm.
Age of Gold, Golden Age, whatever. Which is the follow-up to Un Chien Andalou by Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali.
Yeah. And it very much feels in the same ilk, in the same the same realm. But they've expanded out their 17-minute short to a just over an hour long feature.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing a similar kind of thing with this.
Yeah.
But they're giving a little more space to breathe, I suppose, and going into some new ideas instead of just violent horror.
It feels, I don't know, I think this is just as surreal probably as Un Chien Andalou, but it feels more pointed, kind of. Like, I think that movie was so sort of purposefully just sort of like, here's a bunch of weird stuff. Figure it, like, what does it mean? We don't know. Like, it's just weird stuff. Like, it means something. What does it mean to you? Like, what thoughts does this stir in you, audience member? Whereas this feels like there's more intent behind the imagery.
Yeah.
Where instead of just being like, what if ants came out of a hand? That's crazy, right? It's like, well, let's have a bunch of bishops sitting on the rocks by the ocean. And it's like, that feels more deliberate to me. It feels like they're making a point about, like, Catholicism or religion or something. I'm not sure exactly what point they're making. But
some religious stuff going on. I guess we should say also, Borderline was a silent film, and this is a talkie, unlike Un Chien Andalou, but it's like barely a talking film. There are maybe like 3 or 4 scenes that have dialogue, and the rest have kind of almost a movie tone-esque sync sound kind of situation.
It does kind of feel like, speaking of the sound in this movie, it does feel like a very early example of, like, creative sound design, which is something we haven't really seen in a lot of early talkies. Like, it's usually on-set sound or sound added in for specific sound effects of, like, this person slamming a door. We're putting in a door slamming. Whereas this movie is a little bit more, because it's such a, surrealist movie, there's a bit more sort of like creative, subjective sound design stuff going on. Or even things of like, there's someone walks into their bedroom and there's a cow there with a cowbell on, and the cow leaves the room. The cow leaves the room, so the cow is off screen, but we still hear the cowbell, like, echoing from the next room.
If not, it kind of becomes... It starts as diegetic, and then it just becomes this, like, ringing echoing that goes on forever and fills all of the space, which is...
But it's like,
neat.
We haven't seen a lot of that yet. We haven't, like, now that sound is a thing in movies, it is nice to see someone actually trying to use it in an interesting way, as opposed to just, what would this thing sound like if we filmed it?
It's because this is so concerned with the kind of visual imagery, just kind of the what you get out of a certain visual image. They're using the sound occasionally to give you some sort of sonic imagery to layer on top of it. That cowbell, like, continues on over the next scene, and you're like, what's the juxtaposition here?
Yeah, there's a bit with, like, lava bubbling, and they put the sound of a toilet flushing over it, which is great.
Was that lava? I thought it was, like, goopy brown mud. And
it might be mud.
That's funny, actually.
I thought it might be lava. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know that
it's black and white, so it's hard to tell.
Psycho often gets the credit for the first toilet flush shown on screen, because it was considered, why would you? It's too inappropriate to show that. But this has a toilet flushing off screen, but while it is showing you just burbling gooey mud. So
Arguably,
maybe even more.
yeah, arguably more inappropriate.
Yeah, it's funny though.
I'm curious how true that is, because I wonder if that's in an American film or if that goes for
Yeah,
any film.
probably just an American film.
Yeah,
They're the ones that had all the strict censorship.
but maybe not. I don't know.
This movie starts with a mini documentary on scorpions.
Yeah, sort of 1930s Planet Earth, which is cool. Like, it's cool to see old footage of scorpions.
Yeah, I actually couldn't tell whether it was stop motion or real.
No, they're real scorpions. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I think it's just kind of funny to like, what can we do in our movie where we're throwing a bunch of weird stuff in? Let's start it with a documentary about scorpos.
Yeah. Not a bad way to start a movie. I was immediately hooked. This movie feels very satirical, right? With all of the sort of surreal imagery in it. It feels very, if it's making any sort of point with it, it feels like it's very critical, I guess, of like aristocracy or the sort of bourgeoisie society of Europe at the time.
Yeah, there's a scene with like a dinner party with some rich people, and they're just sitting there in all their fancy garb, and there are like half a dozen flies on their faces.
Yeah.
I guess there's also like some kind of commentary on
horniness.
I don't know. Yes. Yeah. That's the word.
This might be the horniest movie we've watched for the show so far.
I don't know if the movie is though. I feel like it like, I don't know. It's got like a weird relationship with it.
The characters probably are, but yeah, the movie is almost. It's not necessarily judgmental against it, but it's almost like poking fun at them for how horny they are a little bit.
I don't know. There's like a guy who like he is just bumbling from thing to thing, not being able to, just losing track of himself over how horny he is.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple, right? There's a man and a woman who are both. It seems like all they want to do is make out on the ground in the dirt, and people keep like preventing them from doing so. People like the guards keep showing up and like pulling them away.
Yeah.
The guards of society, man.
Or the church.
Yeah.
But
all those bishops sitting by the ocean that turn into skeletons.
There's just so much imagery in this movie. Just shout out stuff. And it's like,
it's kind of hard to like summarize this because it doesn't really have a like, its plot is just a bunch of weird stuff happens. We could talk about some of the specific imagery in it. I think this movie reminded me of actually is like Monty Python sketches, just in terms of how quickly it will move from one thing to another and how like surreal it is.
Different.
Right.
Yeah.
But even some of the like humor of it feels almost a little similar. There's a bit right where early on when the guy is getting dragged away, there's a little dog, and he like takes the time to like break away from the people dragging him away to kick the dog. And it's like a little tiny dog. I hope this was done safely. It might not have been, but it is, for as cruel as it is, it's the timing of it is very funny. And they put in a little sound effect, which sounds like a person making the sound of just like as the dog like flies off screen. It feels like taking the dog from Anchorman. It's like such a ridiculous moment that I have no idea why it's there, but it made me chuckle. And I love dogs. I hate to see anything bad happen to one, but it was the comedic timing of it was good enough that it got me.
We'll just try and remain ignorant as to whether this was a Cannibal Holocaust Turtles situation.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it was made in Europe in 1930 makes me. He probably just kicked the dog. Like, I don't think that they were doing wire work at that point. There's a bit in sort of the first maybe third of this movie that made me think it's kind of a parody of like City Symphony movies. There's a bit that's like, the hustle and bustle of modern life in the city. And it's like, are they kind of making fun of like, Berlin Symphony of a Great City a little bit? Or just that kind of genre? Because that was like, right, that was a thing when this movie was getting made. So, oh yeah, after, so he kicks the dog early on. Later on, he does the same thing to a blind man. There's just a blind man walking down the street, and he like takes time away from whatever he was doing to go kick that guy.
Well, yeah, the guy he's trying to take a taxi. So this horny guy is getting we are introduced to him, I think, while he's getting like dragged away by some people, like seemingly being arrested or something.
Yeah.
He kicks the dog while he's being dragged away. He's able to escape from those people, and then he takes a taxi to a rich fancy person's party. But there's a blind guy that's standing in front of the taxi, so he just gets out and just kicks the blind guy onto the ground. And then gets in the taxi and drives away. It's very strange.
Yeah. And that's this whole movie, right? There's a whole sort of like little section while they're at the party where a guy shoots a child.
Yeah.
You know, there's the aforementioned horny stuff, like the man and the woman reunite, and they're in like the garden in like a hedge maze, and she like eats his fingers like off. Like there's a bit where like his hand is caressing her face, and she like puts the fingers in her mouth, and then we cut, and there's like an amputee, like a person without fingers has replaced the hand. Although later on he has fingers again, so it's, you know, it's not literal, I guess.
It's surreal.
As if anything in this movie is literal. None of it is.
Probably also later in that scene is the most famous thing from this movie, which is that woman is kind of very aggressively sucking on the toes of a marble statue.
Yeah, Tarantino loves this picture.
That scene was actually reproduced in the end of a David Bowie music video. Where he does that right at the end of the video in a similar fashion.
David Bowie, big fan of Louis Buñuel movies.
This movie ends with like a bunch of kind of dignitaries, one of whom kind of looks like Jesus, who are walking into a castle to participate in an orgy. When they leave, like one of the women like tries to leave, and then the Jesus guy like kind of brings her back in and ostensibly murders her. And then he walks back out again, and the last scene of the movie is
when he walks out, his beard is gone though.
When he walks out, his beard is gone.
That means something. I just don't know what it is.
And then the last scene of the last image of the movie is a crucifix with like 8 women's scalps like hanging from it.
Yeah. That's like, there's clear things that this movie is about, and I think those are sort of like aristocracy, religion, and like sexual repression, and the interplay between all those things.
Yeah.
What specific points it's trying to make about those, I'm less clear on, just because of how surreal the movie is. But yeah, I feel like its broader sort of ideas are come across.
Yeah.
Through all of the weirdness, and you know the weirdness is part of it.
I think I'm probably more of a fan of Un Chien Andalou. I think like its shorter running time and focus on just extreme violence makes it feel a little more punchy. Even though there's like more abstract imagery in this, but like you're more shocked by the abstract imagery in the other movie.
Nothing in this comes anywhere close to the razor blade through the eyeball. Like, I mean, that's one of the most like famous images in, you know, all of silent film, maybe all of film history. I don't know, but it's, you know, it's a very like visceral, shocking thing to see. Even if it's a goat eyeball, it's still just like it's it, you know, it gets you. And I feel like this movie, for all of its ambition, it never quite reaches that level of just like instilling a feeling in the audience quite to such a degree that does.